Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my second half of my June wrap-up. I've already done the first half, so I'll link that down below. The second half of the month was a little bit crazy, is the best way to put it. I am tired, if you can't tell. I just spent the past 2 nights going to the Taylor Swift Eras tour in Cincinnati. My sister and I went down I live in Columbus, so it's about 2 hours away. My sister and I went down on Friday, saw night 1, and about a week ago we had the ability to buy floor seats for night 2, and we're like, you know what? You live once, let's do it. So we saw her twice, and both nights were the most amazing nights ever. So I am not only emotionally exhausted from having such a amazing experience that you don't get to experience that often, and I am tired. We did not get as much sleep as I normally get. We got to our hotel the first night about 1 a.m. and we got home last night actually at 1 a.m. after the concert, because the first night took us forever to get out of the parking lot, but the second night she actually moved it up early because of the weather, so we got home an hour earlier than we thought. We thought we'd get home at 2, but we got home at 1, so that was really nice. And we didn't stay for the last song, so we could beat a lot of the traffic since we already saw it the night before. So we also had agreed to meet our parents at 9 o'clock this morning for a movie. So we bought those tickets way before to see Indiana Jones, and we like to see it like early Sunday mornings when no one's really there, but we did not want to cancel our parents' plans just because we were going to see Taylor Swift. So I'm a little tired, but we are here and we're gonna do my wrap up. Because I was so busy, I only read 9 things, so we'll go ahead and get to the 9 things. The first one is On Thin Ice by L.A. Cotton. I did read this as an audio for my PR company that I own, helping authors market their audiobooks. So this one I'm not gonna rate, but it was really good. This one is a hockey romance, and the hero and heroine really don't like each other in the beginning because the hero thinks that she is just like a puck bunny wanting to sleep around with them, and the heroine's really best friends with the heroine from book 1. I didn't read book 1, but I've heard it's really good. But she's just around a lot, and she doesn't have a good relationship with her father, and she has a lot of complex things about her. And the hero, he is dedicated to his family. So he has a single mom, and he has a brother who's on the autism spectrum, so he has a lot of responsibility trying to provide for them, and so everything's really riding on him making it big and going pro in order to provide for his family. But his mom needs a lot of help, and so something happens where he has to be around the heroine a lot more than he thought he would, and it is so good. They do end up starting kind of like a friends with benefits situation because he is so into her, but he like doesn't want to be because he wants to hate her and push her away, and he's a hockey player though. So there's hockey in here, and I really liked it. So if you like hockey romances, I would highly recommend checking this one out. I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to read more from L.A. Cotton because this one was really good. And on audio, I'm pretty sure we had Teddy Hamilton again narrating, and I know he narrated book 1. So check out L.A. Cotton. Then I read Only Mine by Laura Pavlov. This is book 5 in the Honey Mountain series. I binged the previous 3. I had read book 1 a while ago, and then read 2, 3, and 4, and then this one because I got them on sale during the Audible sale, and I love Laura. I got to assist her at Book Bonanza and spend a little bit of time with her. She writes small town romances. It's just been so fun watching her career grow and see so many people that loved her get their book signed by her. And so this one is the last book of the Honey Mountain series. It is Dylan's story, and I heard this was a fan favorite because the heroine has a very loud personality. So she's a lot of fun. She is the youngest sister. So this one, she is a lawyer, and she is kind of like on a trial run to become the lawyer for a hockey team because one of the previous books, one of her sisters got married to a professional hockey player, and she meets the hero and does not get off on the right foot with him, and then figures out that she is going to be working with his dad. So he immediately is like, do not hire her. She is horrible, but they really love her, so she stays on, and it's their romance. And he is actually an ex-Navy SEAL, and so there's something that is thrown at the end where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I really love this hero, and I really love the direction the book took. So this definitely didn't feel like as small town as the other ones did. I feel like books 4 and 5 didn't feel a small town because they had like billionaire heroes and they were off like doing a lot of things, but I still really enjoyed it. I give this one like 4.5 stars. Not my favorite in the series. Book 3 is still my absolute favorite, but this is such a fun series, and I really love the close sister bond all the heroines have together because it's about 5 sisters, and we see their dad a lot too. So this one definitely also felt really different from all of them. All of them have very unique romances, which I appreciate. You're getting all completely different stories in the series, and so I liked the fact that the hero is this like hotshot business guy, and he also was an ex-Navy SEAL, and so something happened like with that part of his life that I really liked. Then in pretty much one day, I listened to Slip of the Tongue by Jessica Hawkins, and I'm an angst fanatic. I love angst. Give me all the angst. I love love triangles. I love cheating in romances. That's what made me want to do my recent cheating and angsty romances, like super messy video that I recently did. But this one I loved until the end. So I was obsessed with this. The heroine feels like her husband's pulling away. He doesn't really care about her. He doesn't love her. He doesn't want to touch her, sleep with her, anything like that. And he's always out and never around. So she just feels unloved. And she is not a likable heroine. She's very selfish and she likes people to give her attention and dote on her. And that's how her dynamic with her husband always was. And she doesn't really reciprocate. She loves him, but she doesn't dote on him. And so she is feeling unloved, and she meets the new neighbor and he wants to give her attention. And there's a secret about him. And there is cheating in here, and it's a love triangle. You're like, is she gonna give her husband another chance? Is she gonna go off with this new stranger? I really loved it until the resolution. When she chose who she was with, I was like, really? So I'm giving it 4 stars. It was seriously a 5-star read until the end, just because it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I still really like this book. I think it could have used a little bit more time spent on a certain thing in the end for me to really truly appreciate it, but it was so good. Like, there were points where there's like, are you cheating? Well, are you cheating? And then like finding things out and like uncovering things, and I just like love a good messy time, and this delivered on that. So I highly recommend. Even though the ending was not like my absolute favorite, like I said, the entire rest of the book was like a 5-star read. I listened to the audio in one day. I literally was doing a puzzle and I was like, I can finish the puzzle. I don't need to stop now. So I worked on my puzzle all day and read this book because I couldn't put it down. Then I read The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one's another super angsty love triangle romance where the heroine, she left a really bad family. She was abused by her stepbrother, and her mom wouldn't do anything about it, and so she moves in with her boyfriend's family, and her boyfriend's dad is a pastor. They're very religious, but they basically save her, so she feels like she owes them to be a good girl, and she doesn't really do anything that's risky or anything she wants to do that teenagers do. And so she starts noticing her boyfriend's friend who comes home from college with him for the summer. So it's The Summer We Fell, and then it flashes back to the present where they're both adults and dealing with things. So this one was really good. I do think that the past chapters were a lot more fleshed out and developed than the present chapters. So I give this one like a 4.5-star rating. I still really loved it. I just would have loved to feel that deep angst and tension in the present. It was there, but not as much as was there in the past, and so I was liking the past chapters even more, and I would have loved more developed later. But she is falling for her boyfriend's best friend, but she doesn't feel like she can leave her boyfriend because she feels like she owes them everything for taking her in, and it gets really messy. She makes these plans to finally like take her life herself, and then more things happen that like force her to stay, and you get really frustrated for her, but you know it's just life and she can't control it. It was really good. Recommend it. I can always count on Elizabeth O'Rourke for a good angsty time. Then I read One Touch by Lena Hendricks. I did get this in a PR box up there. So I do have the paperback, but this one was so good. I loved it. This one is one of my new favorite small town romances. It is a hate to love romance because it is an ex's older brother and brother's best friend. The heroine, doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life, so she moves in with her aunt, but her aunt really needs to renovate her home, and so she agrees to help her, and her brother's like, hey, my best friend, he renovates homes for a living, like he's gonna help you. And she's like, I don't need help. And they're like, no, you really do. And then they get in trouble with like the historical people, I forget what that's called. They like are setting rules and like she's not following them, so they have to hire someone. So she has to hire her ex's older brother, and she was cheated on by her ex and absolutely hates him and felt like she was a pushover, so she doesn't want to act like that with his brother. So she really butts heads with him and stands up to him, and she is really great. I really loved her character and I loved their dynamic. They were forced together all the time. He's dealing with stuff of being a disappointment to his family because he's not like some hotshot business guy. He's works in home renovation. Even though he has such a successful business, they don't think like that blue collar work is as impressive as white collar work, so he has a lot of emotional damage to go through, and he and her end up falling in love, and it's really good. I had so much fun reading this one. 5 stars, one of my favorites from the month. Then I read Lions and Lace by Megan McKinney for my Patreon book club. I read this one and had Joanna Shupe as a guest on, and this was so good. It is a Gilded Age romance, and the heroine, she is being raised by her uncle. I think that her parents had died, and so all of her money's tied up with her uncle. She wants to go to this ball for this woman who is new money, and if you know anything about the Gilded Age, they did not like new money. It was all about the old money, and the hero is her brother, and so they don't have any parents either. I don't remember what happened to all their parents, but none of them have parents anymore. So she wants to go to her ball, but her uncle's like, no one's going to this ball. She is so like embarrassing and not good enough, so we're not going. And so she really wants to go, but she doesn't. And so the hero threw this ball for his sister and no one came, and he is livid. He is so rich though, and so he grew up on the streets. He really made a name for his family and worked his way up from nothing, right? And so he has a lot of money, and he decides to ruin everybody who did not show up to the party and lose all of their money from them. The way this man can handle money is just so attractive to me. But he was like, you disrespected my sister? You're ruined. So he basically figures out a way to get them all to lose their money. He doesn't steal it. It's just like stuff with like the stock market and everything. And the heroine's uncle is one of them, and he is livid. So he drags her to his house and it says, she's your problem now. And is so angry with the hero that he was like, I don't want her anymore, and you stole all my money and it's her fault. Here you go. So he basically like chains her to his like front door. And so the hero at first is like, I don't want her, but then he's like, I can marry her and get into society and be respected in society because she is a well-known name with their money, and my sister will be able to have a good match, a good husband, and be in society and be happy, because he just wants to make his sister happy. I loved his dedication to his sister. So it's a marriage to convenience. He forces her to marry him for their reputation, and obviously they fall in love like really quickly. There's like zero non-consent in here. It is so much about like what the heroine wants and making sure she wants what she wants, which I really appreciated. And he's not a bad guy. I loved his character so much. From the beginning you can tell he really cares, because he was literally ruining the richest people in New York to get revenge on his sister's behalf. I loved that. This was so good. 5 stars. Such a good historical romance. Very happy that I read it. Then I read Tight Ends and Tiaras by Lex Martin. I got the audiobook of this, and this one's book 2 in the series. They all revolve around these college guys who basically find themselves having babies, but like not wanting to be in that relationship. So in this one, the hero ends up seeing that his ex is in town, and his ex cheated on him and had a kid with someone else. And he is, I think he's a senior, because he deferred the draft and is going to play another year in order to be able to play in the NFL the next year. And so he really wanted to get his degree. And what happens is he starts falling for his sister's best friend, and then his ex is back and says, surprise, my 3-year-old is actually yours. I lied. And it's obvious that it's his because it looks a lot like him. He had just like cut ties. He just didn't care. And so now he's like, I have a kid. And he's trying to figure it out, and his ex is really trying to get back with him though. So he decides to fake date the heroine in order to kind of like put the ex off and be like, I don't want back together. And so what happens is they obviously start falling for each other, and they all end up going to like this cabin together, and they end up inviting the ex with the daughter. And this one has a lot of ex drama, so if you don't like that, you probably wouldn't like to read this, because the ex really does want to get back with him, and she's manipulative and tries to ruin relationships. But I really liked his relationship with the heroine. He is in therapy because his parents died, and he was adopted by a family member, and his sister wasn't, and he feels a lot of guilt over that. And he's working on his relationship with his sister as well, which I loved. And I really liked the heroine in here. She just really wanted to support him, be there for him, and I really liked his daughter as well. I gave this one 4 stars. A solid new adult football romance, and with a baby involved, but she is not a baby anymore. She's a toddler. But the next one is already out, so I'm really excited to continue on with the series. I think Lex Martin is such a fun author, and I'm excited I read another one by her. Then I read Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. This one I was so excited for because I'm a huge women's soccer fan. I am so excited for the World Cup that's coming up soon, and I follow the women's US team really closely, and so I know a lot about the players, and I was so ready for a sapphic romance because there are a lot of relationships happening on the soccer team and like with other teams and with other people like outside the soccer arena kind of thing. And so this one I was like, this is like my perfect read. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think I went in with too high of expectations. This one is about, also is one of my favorite tropes where the one heroine is new to the team and she's pretty young, but the other heroine is like 25, 26, but she's been on the team for 10 years. So she started when she was really young. And so the new heroine is like, I've had your poster on my walls. I've been in love with you for so long. And she's like her idol. And they get put on the team together and they end up playing on their like professional teams too, along with the United States pro team. And so they have to spend time together and they start a relationship pretty quickly because the new heroine, she is very confident in, I say the new heroine, she is like the new soccer player. So she's the younger one. She is very confident in herself, very confident in her sexuality and the fact that she is gay. And the other heroine is very, very reserved, very serious, and very worried about soccer. And so she's like, I'm so old, I'm gonna get hurt, all these things. She's captain of the team. She's so like kind of jaded when it comes to a lot of things. And so she kind of is brought out of her shell a lot by the other heroine, and I really like their relationship. I just think that once we got like halfway through, it dragged. There was not a lot to the plot. It was just like moving along, and then we were at the end. So I appreciated the setup of the book. It was really good that way. There's plenty of spice in here too, which I always appreciate, and it was a good time, but I just wanted a little bit more. I did read a review though that said if you don't know soccer, you're lost, and I didn't notice that because I'm a huge soccer fan, so I didn't realize like if there were things not explained well, if they were soccer related. So if you don't know soccer, just know that going in. But I gave it some 4 stars. It was really good, but I just wanted a little bit more from it. And the last book I read was A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. This was our Ravished by Romance pick, and this one I'm giving 2.5 stars. This one needed so much work on the fantasy world. It was pretty much all spice and no plot. Like, we are dumped into this world. The heroine is star blessed. We have no idea what that means. We just know she's covered in like these glowing star tattoos, and she is betrothed to the prince. And pretty early on, she meets the captain of the guard, and it's obvious she likes him. And there's a secret about his identity, and they pretty much just like have sex all around the castle. And there's like all these different, there's these at least 2 different kingdoms and different species, and there's some like that both the fae and the vampires can drink blood. And so I don't know what differentiates as fae from vampires. And then there's like the vampire court kingdom, and I don't know anything. I don't know why the Starblessed are so sought after. They like somehow bring out powers from people. There was just nothing explained in here. If you want a fantasy that's just like all spice and not a lot of plot, I think you would like this, but I'm a fantasy reader who really needs a good plot with a really good romance, and this one didn't really have that much of either. I think that a lot of it was also written for like, a lot of lines were like highlightable. I don't know how to explain that kind of writing, but it was like, he would be like, you're mine, kneel for me, and like I saw a lot of people like highlight those lines, so it didn't feel like there was so much depth to the romance or the world building. It was just like a fun time, and I need more from that in my fantasies. So I gave it 2.5 stars. That was pretty much the consensus of the live show. People who rated it higher were just like rating it for what it was. It was a fun time. I expected a little bit more. There was a cliffhanger, so I don't know if I'll read book 2, but I haven't heard the best about the rest of the series, so I don't know. If you've read this, let me know if I should continue. And those are the 9 books that I read in the second half of June. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were and what you read this month that was your favorite. I would love to hear, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.